You start.
I start?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. How many of these are we going to do? I'm like,
Probably
I start.
all of them. Like,
it's pink. It's pink. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, here we are. Hey, everybody. My name is Alyssa. No. Wow. Hey, everybody. My name is Ellen.
And my name's Alyssa. Welcome back to the Modern Singer Podcast. We've all been there. We all know it's the constant question, do I or do I not need an agent or a manager? So today we're going to break it down. First thing I want to talk about, what's the difference between an agent and a manager? While they do some very similar things for the artists that they represent, there are some very key differences to their roles. A talent agent acts as an actor's representative and is authorized to solicit and negotiate employment. Agents usually spend their time sifting through breakdowns and submitting their clients' headshots and information to casting directors. They are also licensed by the state, typically, and are the only ones who can legally negotiate for employment. They only take a percentage of earnings in their scope of practice, so if they only do commercial and TV work, they won't get a percentage of your pay if you book yourself on a stage contract. Talent managers, on the other hand, can arrange introductions to agents and prepare clients for meetings with potential talent agencies and casting directors. They can advise clients on acting classes and coachings, helping you to choose a good photographer, and picking out headshots for their clients. They can promote their clients to industry professionals, prepare their clients' resumes, and answer any questions related to a career in show business. There is no licensing for managers, and they legally cannot negotiate for any sort of employment on your behalf. Their sole function is to really act as a career guide. They can work solo or with a group, whereas an agent typically works within a larger agency. So here are some key differences that we want to highlight. First one, agents can legally set auditions for you. Managers cannot. Agents can legally negotiate terms of employment and contracts for you on your behalf, and managers cannot. It is illegal for managers to directly work with contracts. However, they can still provide advice and guidance, and they tend to still give a lot of advice when it comes to them, but that is just it. It's advice. Welcome to I was raised by an attorney. They cannot submit this for you. They cannot write it for you. They can give you edits and responses. They can't do it for you. Those are the biggest differences in what agents and managers do and can do for you.
Also, union franchised agents are not allowed to take any more than 10% of their clients' earnings. According to SAG-AFTRA, this is directly from their website, agents must not charge upfront fees of any kind. If you're a union actor like SAG or AEA, you must use an agent that is franchised by the union. While you can use union franchised agents as a non-union actor, there are a lot more specifics you agree to abide by when joining any sort of union. On average, a talent agent can represent anywhere from 125 to 150 clients, which is a lot. Typically, a manager's list is smaller than that, and the best ones work with fewer than 20 actors. So in theory, that allows them to give more people more personal attention in their career guidance, a little bit more one-on-one if they have less than 20 people on the roster. Agents are not allowed to take more than 10% of their clients' earnings, according to union guidelines, but managers don't always have to follow the same restrictions. Many accept 10%, but quite a few do ask for 15%, and others work on a sliding scale. So for example, they take about 15% of your earnings up to, let's say, $50,000 during a 1-year period. But then that commission drops to 10% if you make more than that. Most managers commission all earnings, including theatrical, commercial, voiceover, or any other work that is part of the entertainment industry, where agents only make commission on work in their scope of practice. So why don't you need one? Why don't you need an agent? Agents typically charge anywhere up to 10% of the payment that you get from doing the job where it falls under their scope of practice. You're paying them for acting on your behalf in negotiating, reading, approving, and signing your contract. Typically, early in your career, it is relatively easy to negotiate on your behalf. The typical rule of thumb is that you don't really need an agent or a manager until you cannot manage your career on your own. So like if you have just too many things coming in, you're, maybe getting a lot of PR or your contracts are getting a lot more complicated. That's kind of when you need to start looking for an agent.
So when do you need an agent and how do you get booked? I personally decided to get an agent when I moved to New York because while I was getting seen for a lot of smaller companies and theaters, I was really struggling to get into the room for bigger contracts. I'm 30. I'm at the point where I'm trying to get seen for bigger works and really level up my career. And I needed someone on my team that had access to rooms I wouldn't be able to get into just on my own. Another big thing to remember is that when you want someone to start negotiating on your behalf instead of doing it yourself, that is a wonderful time to get an agent. Just because you're uncomfortable negotiating is not a good enough reason to get an agent. You need to get an agent when things get complicated and you need help getting things done.
If you don't have an agent, but you're really booking a lot of gigs, or if you're kind of like in that in-between time where you don't have an agent and you're just really not sure if you need one or not, here are just a few tips on how to manage your own time and resources so you don't need someone to do it for you, or you can see, can I do this myself, or do I really need to pay somebody to do this for me? One of the things that you absolutely need to manage is your calendar. I love having a digital calendar and a paper calendar. I love my month to month. I have a paper calendar that's just like the days of the month, the squares, and I can do kind of a general overlook.
I've got the same one. Yep.
Oh, I love that. And then in my digital calendar, which is just my iCal, or I think, Alyssa, you use Google Cal, right?
I use Google Calendar, but also I recently downloaded something called Artful Agenda that I really, really love because it syncs automatically to Google Cal, iCal, I think even Outlook it'll connect to, but it has task lists on the side too.
Oh,
I'm going to
that.
put a link into it. It is a link that if you use it, it's not a commission link, but I get a discount later on because it's a yearly subscription. But it helps me to not only like manage things, but it's my virtual to-do list. I've got it on my computer, my phone, and my iPad, so I always have it with me. And it helps me track my water intake as well. I've got a section for Modern Singer. I've got a section for my personal life to remind me what days of the week I do my laundry and go grocery shopping, because otherwise my ADHD brain will make me forget.
Sometimes you got to put all in one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's got like professional stuff on there too. I've got 3 different checklists, and it's been a really great tool to have.
I love that. Yeah. I really use that digital calendar to like break up into smaller tasks. So my paper one is just like the general overview, see the month, see what's going on, week by week, month by month. And then I use that digital calendar to really break down like by hours and by day. Though having both of those is a really great way. You can, like Alyssa said, you can put your to-do lists on there. It can be your professional to-do list, your personal to-do list. I use Trello for my personal to-do lists, and I put my professional stuff on there. I put my personal stuff. I just color code them to section them out. It's a really, really great way to stay organized. Another thing that you need to manage is time to apply for and go to auditions. When you're looking at gigs, make sure you're writing down all of the deadlines, when these videos need to be recorded by, when you need to submit the videos or audio recordings by, what dates you're applying to go to those auditions. Sometimes you're applying for multiple dates. Make sure you're blocking that out in your calendar.
Balancing it with the work that you do in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, making sure that you block off enough mental and physical space for that, as well as all the other things that you do in your life. Another thing is negotiating your own contracts. This one can be a little tricky, but just make sure you're reading the fine print, reading through it, seeing what they pay for, what they don't pay for. Ask questions if you're like, this section is a little vague to me. Can you please elaborate on what this means? Making sure you can afford it. Sometimes it's a really great gig. Maybe it's a really great role. Maybe they do pay you, but you're going to be missing out on other work from, your teaching studio or your muggle or your day job or whatever. And will you be able to afford to go and do those things? Are they giving you a stipend? Are there other things that you are agreeing to? Like, I know a lot of our contracts, you are also agreeing to do like a lot of PR and other sort of recital work. Is that going to work within your schedule? Just making sure that you're reading all of those things and making sure that it really does fit within your lifestyle.
My biggest thing that I want to say about contracts in general: never sign something that you do not read and understand fully.
Absolutely.
That is the biggest. If you need help, there are a lot of resources that can help break down contracts. I know a lot of lawyers do pro bono work where they can just help you break things down so that you understand them, because a lot of these contracts are written in legalese, similar to, I bet a lot of us did not know what force majeure meant in our contracts until 2020. Now we all know that real well. But knowing what you're signing is so important, because if you sign something and you do not understand, you can accidentally dig yourself into a hole, and that can get really dangerous both as a person and as a performer.
Another thing to really focus on managing is money spent on travel and auditions. It can get really easy just to book the flight because you have to go to these auditions, or, book the train and just charging that card, getting that morning coffee, that afternoon lunch, that dinner, drinks out with friends. But, that stuff really does add up. So make sure that, even before you book that audition trip, or even before you book, that travel for the gig, you're really understanding, am I going to have to eat out every meal? Am I being provided food for every meal? Are they going to reimburse me for travel, or is that something that I have to think about up front? Is it a flight? Is it a train? Is it a car ride? Will I need to be spending money on Ubers or on the train when I'm in that city performing? Stuff like that is something to think about before, but then also keep track of, when you're there. In a later episode, we really are going to talk about some things that you can write off on your taxes. So keep that in mind. You want to make sure that you're keeping your receipts so that you can write those things off on your taxes as well to help with that budgeting. There are so many things that go into the thought process when you're deciding if you need an agent or a manager. So just make sure that you're really digging into the reasoning behind why you would be signing on with representation.
Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the show so that you never miss an episode. If you really loved this episode, we would love to see you post and tag us in your stories so that we can connect with more of our followers.
And don't forget to check out our show notes for all of our resources. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Bye.